For this episode of Showflow, we traveled to Los Angeles to sit down with our good friends at Capital Group and their outstanding in-house production studio. Capital Group is an international financial services company, ranking among the world's oldest and largest investment management organizations, with trillions in assets under management. But like every organization, the pandemic hit and their world came to a grinding halt. They had to adapt to virtual production and continue to meet the needs of their clients and stakeholders. In this episode, we talk about how the pandemic changed the way they operate and how we've been working together ever since. Here it is.
Welcome to Showflow from DCE Productions, a series of conversations with clients and collaborators discussing the role of production in solving a wide range of business challenges, one event at a time. Here's our host, Samantha Golden.
Well, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we get to sit down with Ajith and Emily from Capital Group on the marketing and events team, and we are so excited to just talk with you all today. Thank you so much for hosting us in this remarkable space. We're definitely going to talk about this studio, but first, why don't we talk about maybe your roles here at Capital Group and your team and what you all get to do together?
Why don't you go first, Emily?
Sure. My name's Emily Bertsch. I am one of the event experience managers here at Capital Group, which basically we host dozens of events both here in Los Angeles and in cities that have our investment offices around the world, and we are the face of that events team. We handle all the logistics, the experience, and the communication with our internal sales groups.
So my name is Ajith Krishnankutty, and I lead what we call as our experiential marketing team within Capital. We have a pretty large marketing organization, close to around 350 associates globally. So I lead 4 different teams within that scope of things. So events is a team which is very close to my heart. That's how I came to Capital 5 years back. I also lead our design team, the journey team, and also this video studio. And we have a highly talented video team which essentially produces 500-600 plus assets every year. So what our events team does is we have 2 separate types of events, the events that we host and the events that we sponsor. So this team is around 30 associates, and we do this across North America and now started growing globally, but this team is accountable to execute close to 600 odd events every year.
Yeah, wow. And I think honestly from working with your teams, I can say you've assembled a really, really well-aligned and world-class team. It's always, for us, really amazing to get to work with the Capital Group teams. And we've been working together now since 2020, which was a really interesting time in all of our lives. There's a lot of pivoting. There was a lot of, getting used to this new norm that we had to find ourselves in. So for you all and your teams, what was it like when the pandemic hit, especially for those event teams who were hosting events around the world?
I can start off and then I'll give it to Emily. But my first reaction to when I walked in 2018 within Capital was this team was scattered all across different parts of the organization. We brought that inside marketing, and that's how I came in terms of setting up the technology roadmap for the team. But like I said, virtual events was not even part of the strategy, let alone in-person events. We were dealing with surveys done on a piece of paper, transcriptionist, send that back, upload an Excel sheet into Salesforce. So that's kind of what I was thinking about in 2018. It's like, 5 years back. Mm-hmm. And pandemic hit and it was insult on injury, right? And we were forced to really reimagine, upskill the talent, really reimagine the technology, had to be data-driven. So there is a lot of things which we can get into details, but for me it was kind of like challenge on top of a challenge, and then we had to really think about newer platforms, newer ways to reimagine how we broadcasted. So a simple way to put that in was 0p to 720 to 1080. Yep. So that's kind of where the transformation is, which we can get into the detail. But Emily, you talk about how you felt like.
Yeah, 2020 was a big year for me. I had been with Capital Group and with both our hosted and our sponsored events teams prior to that. And during that time, I was on our sponsored events team, which meant that everything that we were doing was at the mercy of the partners that we worked with, the organizations that we were presenting ourselves at their conference. So we had to wait for all of them to get their virtual strategies together so that we could proceed with business. So I had some time on my hands and not many places to go. So what we saw within Capital, since we had to put meeting in person to a stop, was that the demand on our webinars was huge. The Capital Studios team had been producing webinars quarterly. To Ajith's point, 0 HP or
0p.
0p. We had pictures and slides and voices, but we didn't have any video component to that. So even though we were at that level with our webinars, the demand was huge, and this team was working all hours of the day and night to deliver webinars not only to our North American clients, but our Europe and Asian clients as well. And they were working around the clock. And so I mentioned to Ajith that, I had some time, and, if I could help at all, I would love to. So that was kind of my entry into this whole virtual world and eventually into the world of production. So for me, it was a great opportunity. We were kind of learning as we went along until we found you, and then you helped teach us. But yeah, it was shocking, and then it was an opportunity.
I feel like it was an opportunity for us too. So we always think about what happened in 2020. We got to meet Capital Group, and so that was one positive thing that came out. But let's talk through that. So how did we first meet? How did we first start working together?
I'll start with this one. So as Ajith mentioned, we didn't really have a virtual strategy. So the first thing that we did was to start looking at the various virtual platforms that were available at that time, looking at what they could offer and also whether they could meet our high needs of information security and technology and everything. So Ajith actually found Bizzabo, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I think to Emily's point, it was fixing the engine of an airplane while it was flying, right? And going back into no virtual strategy to the demand from the business was how do we get in front of the clients on time, so we don't want to miss the boat. So we started evaluating a bunch of technologies, and the ones that we were using were not incredibly good at virtual. To Emily's point, the one we were using for virtual technology was a glorified podcasting platform. There was no video in there, and the demand was how do we get to the next level. So we evaluated, and I think based on great feedbacks and Forrester reviews and some of those nuances, we landed on Bizzabo. And part of that is also we add our own studio, and the strategy that I really wanted to build was I didn't want to build talent to produce an event within Capital because that's not our business to do it. So the strategy is always about let the experts be the experts, right? And that is when we started to have professional services conversation with Bizzabo, and they said that they don't provide that, but they have some recommendation in terms of the partners. And little did we know that we will build a great partnership with you guys. And we reached out to, I think, Steve at that time, and Heather was there, who was heading up the conversation. I was also working with a agency in Costa Mesa, and we had two partners that we were evaluating. But you guys knew Bizzabo, which was a bigger strength for us, and we started the relationship, and it was a no-brainer. And you guys were super nice, and you were comforting, and you told us that let us take care of production while you take care of the content and the audience. So that's the start.
Yeah, and that's our favorite thing to say. Let us handle that for you. We love to take it off. And so what are some of the things we've been able to handle for you over the last couple of years?
Everything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would say close to everything. I mean, you taught us production. I think Ajith had knowledge more than anyone on the team. We have a wonderful team of event managers. However, because we didn't have a virtual strategy, none of us were technology or production experts. So our event managers, their role changed quite a bit. We all had to learn more about technology and production than we ever thought we would need to. And you held our hands along the way. And not only did you teach us production, but we learned very quickly that we could trust you with our senior executives. Your demeanor and everybody on the team put us at ease, put them at ease, and your patience years later, continues to put us at ease and to put them at ease. We knew that you could handle complex situations. We knew that you would keep us informed of everything that was happening. Everything was transparent. Steve and I and Ajith built a great partnership, and then when we met you, you just built on that. And so everything from 3 boxes and 2 boxes to lower thirds and wipes and stingers, you know, you've led us the way. You've led us, and we have been able to grow and really impress our internal and external audiences.
What I remember is a funny conversation, and Emily and I used to exchange text in the middle of the night, like about how the show should look like. And I think if I remember correctly, that's when the elections were, right?
Yes.
And I think there was a Congress summit or something that we were following on CNN, and like, you know, we used to take screenshots and we trade things. This is how we should do a 3-box thing. This is how we should do a 2-box. Breaking news, things that ticker, and then I remember like this was all our proof of concepts that we shared with you, and you were able to bring that to life. Yeah. And we knew you had the ability to bring that to life. And circling back to what Emily was saying, I think the biggest thing, and I've spoken to a lot of the executives from different organizations who run events, is the toughest thing was not for the events team to pivot. The toughest thing was the speakers to be successful. And I think, to Emily's point, the way you guys comfort the speakers, orient the speakers and train them, that really gave Capital a huge advantage of showing up at the marketplace with the same quality that we would do in-person events, if not more. I would say, you know, I was talking to one of the largest asset managers the other day, the person who runs the event, and the first thing they said was, we are just amazed with the quality of the webinars that you run, which is, I'm like, it's phenomenal. I have seen their webinars, but at the same time, somebody at that level telling us and validating gives us proof that we choose the right partner.
Yeah, and I think building a partnership takes a lot of energy. It's not always easy, but I think it's something that I know I'm really proud of from our side is how far we've come, and we were not perfect partners out of the gate. I can think back and remember all the errors we made in the early days, but I think how we were able to learn together, grow together, collaborate, and get to the point of executing amazing events is what I'm so, so proud of. And I think it's just like so impressive to think of our partnership and how far it's come. And it's only continued to expand. I feel like, you know, we were able to help with webinars, and then once the world got a little bit safer after 2020 and you went back to the ballroom, we started having place-based live events, you got to bring us with you. And so, you know, that was just one way our partnership kind of evolved. But how was that decision-making process? You know, being able to trust us virtually and then bringing us in person, what was that decision-making process like for you?
Yeah, I think for me, the decision-making is pretty simple, Sam. Like, I would look at it and say that is the world changed after pandemic. The way we look at ballrooms changed. So for me, it was a pretty easy transition from a virtual to in-person to bring you guys along. Not because we liked you, you had the capability, right? Now you guys were doing the same thing before, and now you can do it. And second piece of the puzzle is, and we can talk a little bit about ETF and how we pulled it off in NYSE, is about amplifying the events and taking it hybrid. So you guys are already doing virtual, so how do I now connect the dots to in-person and broadcast it to virtual through Visible or any other platform is something that we have really established that. So you guys were at least thinking 10 steps ahead of what we were thinking, and you brought that point of view to us. It made the decision making much more easier for us. So that's my take on how we proceeded with the decision making, which was a no-brainer, I guess, right?
It was. And you're our partner, whereas the AV companies at the hotels are the hotel's partner, and I think that you can't measure how important that was, and there have been a few specific examples of where you've gone above and beyond and been the only reason that a day was successful.
Again, that's what we want to do. We just want to make life so much easier so you can pull off the vision you had in your head of the event. Like, that's our success, is seeing you all happy and knowing you're proud of the event. The stakeholders are happy, the speakers are happy, everyone's walking away, even on a morning where we lose power, you know, on a property.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to talk about that.
I don't know if it was 300 feet or 300 yards that your team ran extension cords to find power when the entire conference center lost power, but you were able to do it in less than an hour. And we were live and broadcasting before, I think probably 2 hours before there was power back in the building. So
And the whole city, the block was gone. Yeah, the block was gone. And I feel like that's where the commitment over the contract, it's, you guys are phenomenal in that aspect. And even I think, remember Steve talking to us, Emily, about how we should be negotiating with the hotel about bringing an external AV vendor or a partner, so to speak. So those things really helped us get ahead of the game, renegotiate without losing a lot of money. At the same time, we're getting the same quality of the service from the hotels that we partner. And we always choose the best of the best hotels. But like I said, the AV industry is a very monopolized industry in the United States. So we just want to make sure that we have our partner choices and we get to work with the same people, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Yep, and that's what our goal is too, right, is that it is a partnership. And I think between Capital Group and DC, to me at least, that's how it's always felt every single time. It's never felt like a vendor, a supplier, and a delivery. It's been, we're gonna work on this together, we're gonna get through it together. And what I always appreciate is how calm, cool, and collected you all are on your side, because then it helps us stay calm, cool, and collected too. So we can think quicker on our feet and just solve the problems that are being thrown at us to make sure we can still execute at that high level that you're expecting and your audience is expecting.
And I also want to bring up, Sam, the consistency that Emily said, spoke earlier, around the quality of the people and the same people. So your attrition seems to be pretty less, which is phenomenal, and you got to give kudos to Steve and the leadership at your place also, because we get to work with the same people. And otherwise, getting and training somebody and bringing them up to speed, and you guys knowing our speakers and their preferences and their backgrounds and their flaws, etc. So I feel like that is what you took a lot of pressure away from Emily and the team, so that they can focus on the right things and you guys can focus on the right things, and we are a good team and the outcome is phenomenal.
Yeah, divide and conquer.
Yeah. Well, and something Ajith always says is it's not how you act when things are going well that really is the true tell of your character. It's how you act if things don't go as planned. And I think that both our team and your team have that in common, that we're able to partner and say, okay, things aren't going our way, but what are we going to do and how do we get past it? We both have the same end goal in sight, and we can work calmly together to get there. And in events and with technology, there's always going to be something unexpected. But I truly value this partnership more than any.
Yeah.
And also, I'm still amazed with the technology that you brought in with the Unity, and even at the hotel spaces when you're doing the live shows with that 10-pound comm stuff that you carry around, and you guys brought that into an app, and then we were sitting in Florida and California in 10 different places and coordinating an event. Like how you would do that within a ballroom was just fantastic, and I feel like that name of the app resonates to our partnership is Unity, right?
Yeah, love that.
And we didn't mention yet, sorry, that you produced a webinar in a hurricane.
Oh yeah, we did do that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the team went to remote locations, and we're ready. We rehearsed from remote locations.
You had a plan A, plan B, plan
We
C.
had plan A, plan B, plan C. The hurricane shifted and didn't come right at your studio or any of your homes, which we're lucky for, but you were ready, and we delivered, or you delivered, and it was amazing.
And it was a great show.
It was a great show.
And so then thinking about that, I mean, we got to go from virtual to hybrid and place-based. So we were no longer studio bound, but then we found ourselves in another amazing studio, but this time yours. So definitely just because we're here and this is such a remarkable place, I want to kind of hear about how this team has shifted and what CG Studios is like now, and even the kind of role we get to play sometimes in here too.
It's a fascinating story, but the space that you're sitting here was a green curtain, and we had a teleprompter and a camera, and We had invested on a bunch of technology, which is where I always say that we had a Formula One race car, and nobody knew how to drive that. So, so essentially, we had to go get our expert drivers and reimagine the space. And again, we started this work, I think, during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, and we got and again, like it all started with the CNN kind of imagination when we went to virtual, and we had the capability, we had the Zoom green rooms, etc. And the notion was that what if we change the space into a studio where it is more flexible and agile, and people can do multiple things, and again connected back into our backend studio, which can connect seamlessly to Florida, and then create that whatever is the SRT, RTMP, or whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. But that's kind of the notion. Yeah. So the approach was to create that space. We got an architecture company. We create the renderings for that, and then we started the construction. And it wasn't crazy expensive, but I think I spent more money on the HVAC than the studio, because we didn't have the air conditioning in the studio when we reimagined the whole 55th floor that we are sitting in, and we had to do a little bit of fighting battle with our office services team to pull an extension of the HVAC into that, which costed us double the money of what we spent on actually doing this space. But so that was the story behind that. And I think the first event that we did was Capital Ideas, was December last year or something like that.
2023
Outlook, which was possibly the most highly attended event. We have 5,000 plus people attend that event. Emily and I had to really convince that the go live date for the studio was potentially June of this year.
Yes.
And
it was a 6-month roadmap.
6 months.
To
yeah,
6 weeks.
And we were at New York Stock Exchange, and then Emily
sales meeting
and national sales meeting, and Emily and I am known for making this crazy decision. So we said, okay, we're going to go, and I took the risk, and the team backed it up, and we did rehearsals. But my notion is a plan is good, but planning is everything. We did the planning so well. Yeah. So the execution was incredible, and I still feel, believe like our CEO was in this room, and he was just blown away with the quality of the studio, and we had great articles in our internal newsletters. But everyone loves the studio, and everyone who watched that show thought that we are doing it from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that was the story behind that, and the team just took over. But I feel like, again, going back to the experts being expert, where you guys came in was to really take over the backside of the studio, which you can't see it. Maybe you should take a B-roll of that and then put it up there, and is getting the right people and train on the equipments and amplify that, so that we don't need to go and hire that talent, because that's not our business.
Yeah.
Well, and the partnership grew because, for 2 years, the events team worked with DCE, but when we started talking about hybrid and coming back into the studio, that brought in Capital Studios to the partnership and to the relationship. And I think that the way that we've all learned from each other and evolved together has been really great.
I agree, and I think it just comes back to this team and why I feel like we've been working together for a million years. It hasn't been that long, but it's just been such a time warp, I think, because we've done so many events together and so many different types of events with so many different people on our teams that I feel like it's been longer than it has. But overall, high level perspective, would love to just ask, and I think you've answered this already throughout, but just overall perspective of getting to work with DCE and our team.
Tough question.
I know.
It is. You're an extension of our team. You're not a vendor, and I don't think we ever considered you a vendor. I think we considered you a partner from day one. Our company is notorious for having initials. We all go by initials, and we've wanted you all to have initials since after the first event, because you're part of the family. Our executives recognize your voices, and luckily today, as we were walking around, you've been able to see a couple of them face to face again. But you're part of Capital, and you are definitely essential to our virtual strategy and our in-person event strategy now.
Yeah, I would completely agree to Emily, but you earned that position. We didn't give you that position, so I feel like you worked the way to get to that level, a lot of these things are built on trust. And I still remember when we started with our first D&I event to our advisory council meeting, which is kind of a flagship for our loyal clients, to many other events, including NYSC. I was deeply involved on producing those things. And then now I don't even know which event is happening which day. So I feel that is a good news, right? It's always a good news when you take your hands off and it's on autopilot and still there is no turbulence and the flight's still going. So I feel like we got to that level of trust and maturity, and that could not happen without the right set of people working in harmony for the same outputs.
Yeah, we could not agree more. Getting to work together is such a privilege and honor and joy for us that I feel like this is a partnership we're so thankful to have and so proud to have. So, we're only excited to see what's coming next on our side.
Absolutely, and more to come. This whole industry is changing quite a bit, and I was talking to one of the senior directors in another large. They put together a large conference across the globe, and they've been doing this forever, and they are now investing millions of dollars on reimagining that. So everybody's on that. So what we started in 2018 was a level of why we do these events, and what we figured out was this is a sea of sameness. Yeah. Everybody does the same thing. And how do you differentiate yourself from the noise and try to make the music? And that's what you guys helped us create, that quality. And if you think about different channels within marketing, emails, if you send out 3% of the people open an email and their attention span is 1 second. With events, to get 5,000 people sit and watch that for 1 hour, it's not a joke.
Yeah.
It's like a TV that I explained, that your remote within a hand, you have a choice to change channels. Yeah. How do you make sure that you take that remote away and have them focus on that one? And that is where I think you guys brought in the quality and also innovation every single time. And you guys have done phenomenal things for our national sales meeting, live things where we had to give the awards in walking into their homes on the iPad, and those things are memorable stuff. And what we call within Capital is called creating memorability. And that's what you resonate in terms of what you bring that to table.
Amazing. And that makes us so proud.
And I would just add on to that, we get people asking us all the time, what platform do you use? What platform do you use? We saw this event, what platform do you use? And we have to tell them it doesn't matter what platform it is. It's not the platform that we're using, it's our partner that we're producing with.
Agreed.
So, as you always said, as Steve always said, we're platform agnostic.
Agnostic.
We are platform agnostic. Yes.
I agree to Emily. It's
yes.
Going back to the same analogy, it's same Mercedes-Benz. Emily and I can drive. We won't share the podium. It has to be driven by Hamilton. So.
And no one else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think for us, like I said, we're only looking forward to being innovative together, collaborating together in the future, and just continuing to make your event visions come to life. And we're thankful to be on your team and part of the team, because that's what for us too, it feels the same way. So I think that's all the time we have today for this episode of Showflow. So I want to thank you both again, Emily and Ajith, so much for being here, for your time, for letting us use this amazing space. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope that you subscribe and follow along to catch the next episode.
Thanks for listening. You can find out more by visiting us at dceproductions.com/Showflow.